Welcome back to the model yard, where today we are featuring the Panavia Tornado GR.1 in 1/72 scale. This variant specifically served in Operation Desert Storm of the 1990s, where it fought alongside aircraft such as the venerable F-15 and A-10 of the U.S. Air Force. The Tornado was a two-seat, variable geometry wing-equipped aircraft recognizable from a service in several nations over multiple decades. It was operated in the early 1980s up until around 2019, where it was retired from mainline Royal Air Force duties. Other nations such as Italy, Germany, and Saudi Arabia were its other customers, and they have kept theirs in service past 2018. The Tornado GR1 and Tornado IDS, as the same variant, were a prominent force in the Gulf War conflict of the 1990s. They were alongside the deployments to Afghanistan and Yugoslavia upon the coming of the 21st century. They served as low-level, adaptable, and capable strike fighters able to knock out defenses from even great distances. This specific fighter served in the No. 31 Squadron under the identification of ZD-790, which served with the leading squad of the entire Tornado GR1 force. ZD-790 was officially put in service in late 1984 and served active duty for the UK until 2019, where all of the Tornadoes were retired and reserved for training duties. This specific plane, nicknamed Debbie as shown, has a similar paint scheme to the National Air Force Museum's own Tornado GR1, which also served in Operation Granby conflict of the 1990s. Just like the real Tornado IDS, this die-cast version has swinging wings, rotating weaponry, and a selection of ordnance just like what it would carry in the Desert Storm conflict. Features include an opening canopy, closed and open gear arrangements, and a detailed cockpit with the pilot and weapons system officer. Package also includes a display stand to show the aircraft airborne with all weapons on board. The model itself measures 9.25 inches in length and a wingspan of 7.75 inches at full wings out. It is sure to appeal to anyone interested in the Desert Storm conflict and is very posable with its sets of weaponry and swinging wings. The origins of the aircraft go back to even the 1960s, with programs started to develop planes for the RAF duties. These included the failed F-111K, a variant of the US's F-111, and the AF-VG, a French design for a highly swept variable geometry wing fighter that could fit the adaptable nature that was sought after. In March of 1969, the four countries of Italy, Germany, and the United Kingdom and the Netherlands partnered together to develop and manufacture the concept into a working aircraft. It was designed as a low-altitude, adaptable twin-seat weapons platform ready for lots of combat roles. Designs first flew in the mid-1970s, labeled P1 through P9 and PS11 to PS16, totaling 15 prototypes. They represented the large development of a complex multinational need for over 1,500 aircraft, which was tallied up from all the countries interested in buying the completed Tornado. By the 1980s, 3 different variants were developed to fulfill the tasks required. These models included the ADV, an air-to-air variant, the ECR, electronic warfare variant, and the IDS ground attack variant, which is the one we're featuring here today. In Desert Storm service, the Tornado GR1 carried deadly AIM-9L sidewinders, a pair of them, fuel tanks, BAWS thermal and electronic countermeasures, and various types of passive and active weaponry. Standard ordnance for the plane also included Storm Shadow cruise missiles, Brimstone anti-tank, and CPU or GBU paveway guided bombs. Guided weaponry was operated from the terrain scanning radar or a thermal imaging pod depending on the type. This pod was also managed by the weapons system officer in the back seat of the plane. Weapons would guide off an internal or external laser, which would lock onto the target and guide them until they impacted. Air-to-air weaponry was still limited to those just 2 sidewinders on the IDS variant, but these were enough to complement the existing 27mm cannons in the nose, which would be normally reserved for strafing runs or close-in combat. Size of the aircraft itself was 54 feet in length by 45 feet at full sweep out. At full sweep back, the wingspan shifted all the way down to 28 feet. The cockpit of the aircraft features 2 seats with a crew member in each of them. The front section contained primary flight controls, radar scope, navigation, and engine instruments, as well as the heads-up display with a virtual horizon. The seat behind the pilot was set up for the aforementioned weapons systems officer, who would be placed in charge of the ordnance. They would have all the radar scopes, access to targeting pod, and wing sweep control, as well as the launch controls for deploying the weaponry itself. The weapons system officer also had a secondary flight control stick for emergencies if the pilot was incapacitated or unable to fill its duty. Both crew members had an ejection seat in the event the plane became too dangerous or damaged, especially in the event of heavy ground fire. In the conflicts it faced, it was always a good idea to stay as far away as possible or low enough to avoid detection, which was the specialty of the Tornado. It was designed to work at low level between mountains, where other jets would struggle to keep up. A powerful, terrain-following radar was used to navigate the tight cliffs or for operating the minimal altitude autopilot mode, which kept the aircraft as low as possible with limited pilot energy. Thank you for tuning into the video today as we've discussed the history of the Tornado GR.1, which served in the Desert Storm conflict. You can get your own at themodelyard.com.